Hello, everybody. So I wanted to take a moment, and before taking a break for the Thanksgiving weekend, I wanted to kind of do a quick recording of the submissions that we have so far today. So basically, I want to take a look at Darwin's, and then Maryam's, and then Sara's, and then Simon. So we're going to go through these alphabetically. So we'll start right here. So you're making a lot of really great progress on this. I think it's great. We're getting our areas of focus. You know, got the focus on the woman right dead center of the image. Got a little bit of light scraping across here, and trying to kind of tone down this background so we're not seeing so much back here. So going through this and kind of trying to look at this with fresh eyes. The first thing that stands out to me, and apologies for not having mentioned this previously, but let me just take this. The background, like we are. This go away. Let's see what's out. There we go. Okay, so the window light. So right now there's just blackness there. That will actually, like, putting in an actual, because at this point, if we're this, if it's this interior of a space, like that'll pretty much be like blown out white. But having that be that like bright white or sky color or whatever it ends up being will impact the overall composition. So I would highly recommend putting that in there. Overall, in the image itself, outside of that, I'm just going to do some quick things to it that I think would be helpful. So overall, I'm just going to make a copy of the scene as a whole. My first thing is that I think I would like to see a little bit more like mid-tone lighting in there, and that there would be more light kind of bouncing around the scene as we're getting in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and make the brights a little bit brighter, and then bring up the mid-tones a little bit. Right now I'm really just focusing in on the center, on our main area of interest here. The other component is that I feel like if you're getting warm sunlight into this space and it's hitting all of these wood components and bouncing around the room like crazy, you would really kind of feel that warmth a little bit more strongly, a little less yellow, a little more red. Like looking at these back walls, the way that they're kind of bluish in tone, it would really, really be more of like a red quality to them. I kind of mentioned getting some more light on this easel here in the foreground. I think you've done a nice job of that. Because this is like a story component of this one too, and I'm wondering if we can, I think you can do a little, like even just like a little bit more, because it creates some nice shaping in there and gets that going pretty well too. And then once I would have this, I would also work on even taking this area down to be a little bit darker too. So you could even push down the levels on that. Because really we want to structure this out for the overall composition to be, I like to think of it as because this is like a three area image, right? We've kind of got, I'll just write them out. So focal, we want our audience to look here first, and then we want our audience to look here second. Why is that? Oh, I see. There we go. So we want them to look there second, right? So, and then we want to be able to position them back over here last. So if they're looking on the scene or not at all, we really want it to be like a 1, 2, 3 thing. So let's set the value structure that way. So again, this one might be a little bit too bright. Let's take it down just a little bit. So yeah, so focusing right here in the middle. Now the other part of this that I would do is I would add some diffusion to this. And let me just go ahead and merge these layers together because it'll make it easier to do it. So to do that, all I'm going to do is just copy and paste this in Photoshop, and then I go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and yeah, 8 pixels is fine. We'll just this, like you can play around with this. But then I would take it and I would either screen it or add it over top. The difference being, look at her back. When you add the values together, it literally adds the pixel value together, and so it can go up over 1. Screen will do the same thing, but it'll kind of cap it at 1. So depending on what you want to do, for this one, I'll just kind of screen it over, and then you really want to take down the contribution of this because you don't want it to be super fuzzy. But just adding this can help, and then also you want to isolate it to just the brighter parts of the image, because this only happens photographically when elements are bright. It's just a little bit of a lens effect. Kind of want to just goose her up just a little bit more maybe something along those lines. All right, cool. And then I'm going to take this down around. And again, this is all just like, oops, I was too aggressive with that erasing. This is all just a quick little mock-up here. So yeah, so a little bit more value in there. And then let me merge these together. And then the last note, and again, this is super minor, would be flipping her, like her eyes. So eye whites could go a little bit brighter, and then make sure that although the dings, I was gonna say push them to the other side, but then you wouldn't see them. I think just toning them down, because we're not, you're not actually reflecting the window light there. So just make them a little bit softer and a little bit dimmer when you're doing that. So again, versus the original. Oh, I think ignore what I did to the picture over there, but just making it a little bit brighter. So yeah, more warmth, more brightness, and then getting that bright element over there will really, really help tie the image together. You'd be surprised at how much that works. Last thing, super dumb, but this is like her styling and the bookshelves and everything. It's like in the easel, it doesn't have a lot of detail. It's stylized, right? Like this isn't photorealistic. But the second that you put a photograph of any kind in there, it kind of breaks that illusion a little bit. So I would find a different image to put in this picture frame. Something that's like, even if it's just like super simple, or even if it's just like an empty picture frame, or just like, I don't know, something to fit the style of the scene itself a little more too. So everything in this image kind of fits this world a little bit more tightly. So that's what I got there. All right, Maryam. All right, this is looking cool. Yes, so looking at some of the reference that you posted earlier, like, because when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this light is too harsh. Like it's very contrasty on the edge. But I see what you were going for, and I see that's like the style that you wanted, so that's cool. I love this kind of like warm bleed around the edge. I think that's looking really nice. Something to consider. So I've had to do a lot of like spotlight, headlight type of stuff. There are gobos out there that you can get depending on where you want to go with this. Because like flashlights actually have like little rings in here. They're not like perfect. And so you may want to look into that and just adding a little bit of gobo. Other areas, I think the redness underneath her nose is a little bit saturated. I think the yellow of her glasses is a little bit saturated too. I would pull back those values. I think I would really love to kind of darken everything outside of the legs a little bit more, just to kind of really focus in the attention under here. Like just allow everything outside the perimeter of the legs, just allow it to go a little bit darker. I mean, basically it's like this kind of spill of light there, just kind of tone that down. The other thing that I would really focus in on is the depth of field. So it's just because we're at a little bit of a goofy angle where we're like looking directly along the ground, but it almost feels like her very sharp feet are standing on blurry ground. So maybe it's just a matter of playing around with it, but like opening up a little bit of the making a little bit less depth of field blur right in there to make her feel more grounded in that space, I think could help a lot too. In terms of compositing, so because I know that was something that you asked about too. So a couple things. So we when we're working on animated shots, one of the things that we tend to do is like, I love these dust particulates that you have, but we try and keep them off the character's face, like artistically, in a way that it doesn't feel like you're just cutting them out, but you're trying to create like a clear path to the character's face. The other thing, and again I mentioned this in the last one, was like I added to every single image that I've ever done is just like a little bit more diffusion to this. So really dialing in these bright points a little bit, in that they're going to create some. It's not like the volumetric fog, but just like some extra bounce around the scene, and it kind of simulate that would be great in the comp as well. So again, just taking it down around the legs, down in the foreground, other dark areas here, and then really allow that to kind of dial in there. It's a little bit strong. Something like that. Unless she stole the picture on the wall back behind, I would again, back to a framed picture thing, I would maybe put something in there, but it depends on the story element. But in terms of her lighting, I think she's looking. I think the lighting and the shaping is looking pretty good. The only area that's kind of throwing me off is the ear, and that just might be the design. But it's like it feels very. It feels like there's detail missing there. So maybe it might just be a matter of just toning it down so we don't see it as much, and just putting some light on top. But it feels the ear feels a little bit flat. I like the value that you have in the character in the foreground. I like that we got a little bit of rim, but it's not distracting. Like definitely tying it into the scene. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think. Yeah. That's all I have for this one. All right, cool. Let's hop over into Sarah's now. So Sarah's, yes. Saw some feedback going in. I think it's great. The notes on the leaves is true. Like leaves are. You really want to hone in on two things in order to make them look good. Number one is getting specularity on them. Leaves are waxier and shinier than we ever think. So getting some specular variation in these, and then also like Robbie was saying, the translucency, subsurface, like getting a little bit of the light passing through them as well is very crucial. Mostly in like the direct sunlight areas for sure, but definitely in the shadows as well. Maybe a little bit of that in there as too. In terms of this image as a whole, I still think that we can get a little bit warmer with it, and totally your call. And again, looking back on the references they provided, there's so much secondary bounce light, especially in this one. Like look how much pink that wall is, and even in this one, like it's the warms feel a little bit warmer. I know it's kind of color balanced for the shadows, but there's a little bit more warmth in there overall. So I'm just gonna try and push that. It's just like really helps sell like the kind of daytime feel of this, and that if you want to like feel some of that warmth in the shadows. Additionally, I think that we can do a little bit more with the depth of field. I want to feel a little bit of out of focus here, and then that sky in the background be a little bit out of focus too. Sorry, just looking at the shadows real quick. I think they're good. Yeah, those feel pretty natural. I also think that we could possibly go a little bit darker in this region, like maybe because there's some of it we're not really seeing. So I think we could theoretically get the idea that maybe there's a little bit more shadow darkness in this region. And let's see. Yeah, just to kind of structurally play it out to kind of push our eye back into this focal point. Another thing that would really help with this image is, and this happens a lot in this set, and I'm not 100% sure why, but one of the things that I found is that if you can create a little bit of a distinction between this wall and the other ones, it'll help create more depth in the scene. So if I push this back, and let's just for the sake of this argument, just make it a little bit darker. You can see immediately like this starts to layer it back a little bit more. And I got this even in the reference image here, like just seeing the differences in the walls, like this wall to this wall, this wall to this wall. Like doing that will help stack us back into the space a little bit more. And that being said, like I think maybe same thing with this wall here. So if we distinguish this one from the surroundings a little bit more, no pixels in there. I think that'll help build depth back in the scene too. This one's a little bit, because we've now tweaked it a couple times, we're kind of losing values on it, but I'm trying to think, maybe if we just, I don't know, maybe I'll just shift the hue on it or something, just create a little bit of difference. Yeah, not great, but you can see it on the other wall definitely. So try and create some value or hue differences between the walls. Same thing probably with this foreground here. So there's just some value difference between the two. Other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. Yeah, this is coming really well. The ground itself, there's a pattern on it that almost makes it feel noisy, in that it just feels like a little bit pixelated, grainy. So maybe toning that down, because everything else has got like a really nice smooth component to it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So really nice job on this one. So it's coming together really well. This angle looks nice too. It's a little more dynamic than the straight on look. Simon, your post made me laugh. about I think you think you made it worse. Totally fine. Jasmine and I used to joke that oftentimes when we were working on shots, our first iteration was always the best, and then we just slowly made it worse over time until somebody finally told us to stop. But yeah, so I don't think it got worse. I just think that I think we went too far in the other direction with the saturation. Because the thing I really like about this is the subtlety, right? Like the subtle greens, the subtle browns, like the subtle transition between that subject matter, and then like getting the reflections right in the middle. Like this subtlety is really, really nice. And I think that we're, if it's like an animated character or something, I think that like you can go more saturated than reality. But for me, in my standpoint, also this bugged me in this image, is like the black points aren't quite right. All right, we'll get that in there. I think for me, it's all about like two things. One, I can simulate here, which is just taking down the saturation overall and allowing those values to kind of blend together a little bit more seamlessly. And you could probably even go even more than that. Do the saturation. I guess this would be in the cyans. Yeah. Like somewhere down in this region. And then also like softening the transition between the 2 points. Because right now it feels like a little bit of it feels very much like a 1, 2, 3 ring. Like it feels like one ring here, one ring there, and then I guess the pupil would be the fourth one. But like getting through, like creating more of a subtle transition between those, I think would be really helpful. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, that's all I got today. Great work all around, everybody. I think that your work is collectively, everyone's work is coming together really well. Hopefully after the Thanksgiving break, I'll be able to do more videos and actually do some live critiques. My schedule has been insane lately, so I've only had the opportunity to do written critiques up until this point. But have a very happy Thanksgiving to all in the U.S. that are celebrating. And for everybody else, I will see you. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all back again on Monday. All right, take care. Happy lighting.